Hello, I'm Martin Lewis from MoneySavingExpert.com. The Chancellor has just sat down after delivering his 2023 budget, and I want to give you my instant summary of the main consumer finance elements. I'm going to talk tax, energy, childcare, pensions, and a few more things. Let's start with tax, which you may be surprised at because there wasn't actually much mention of it in the budget. But that doesn't mean it isn't important, because we are in an inflationary environment where prices are going up rapidly. And many people's incomes are rising too, though not by as much as inflation, which means in real terms they're taking a pay cut. But tax thresholds are frozen, which means that what's really happening here is the Exchequer is trying to bring in more money by what's called fiscal drag. Fiscal drag. So think for a moment of Jeremy Hunt in Rouge. Not really relevant, just an interesting thought. Now this is what fiscal drag is. If tax thresholds are frozen, but incomes are going up, they take more money. Let's do a really simple one. The personal allowance is £12,570. So if you currently earn £12,570, you pay no tax. Let's say that you've got a 5% pay rise, takes you up to around £13,200. Suddenly, all of that extra 600 odd quid you're earning is taxable at 20%. So the Exchequer is going to take in around 120 quid that it didn't have before. That's fiscal drag. That's happening because all the thresholds are frozen. Now, they've also frozen the ISA amounts. I was rather sorry to hear they haven't done anything on lifetime ISAs. So there's still the biggest property you can buy is £450,000, same as it was since 2017, and the penalty is still in place, a campaign has been running. So no real change there, but no change is important. Now, let's move on to energy. I'm not going to talk too much about energy because I did a full video this morning. I am delighted to say that the energy price guarantee is not going to rise 20% in April as it was planned to do so. I even got a name check as the reason why in the budget. That's a first for me. So energy prices are going to stay roughly flat in April. There is some tinkering that will happen. Then we hope to see them drop in July once the price cap gets cheaper. But the fact that bills are flat doesn't mean you won't pay more, because in April it's confirmed the £66 to £67 winter bill support that everyone has been getting is due to end. So that means, especially for those on who have lower usage, you're proportionately going to see quite a big hit, 66 to 67 quid a month increase in your actual expenditure, I'm afraid. Next on my list is prepayment. We knew this before, but from the 1st of July, people on prepayment meters will pay the same as people on direct debit. Currently, they pay roughly 3% more, around £45 a year on a typical bill. That's very good news. We now know the mechanism for that is that the energy price guarantee in the first instance will actually subsidise prepayment meter users, so they pay the same as those on direct debit. So we have a form of equality. The only problem will be once fixed tariffs come back, which I think they will be coming back soon, they tend not to be offered on prepay, which means people on direct debits will be able to get probably cheaper tariffs or at least more choice of tariff than those on prepayment meters. But that's a story for another day. Something that wasn't said in the budget but is in the detail, if you're on a home heat network, which is effectively where you're paying a larger group, a business for your home energy, then they've said that they're going to increase the funding to help people on home heat networks get equivalent help to other people on energy bills. But I'm going to stop on energy, did a video on that. Let's move on to one of the big announcements of the day, childcare. From September 2025, in eligible homes, which is where all adults are working at least 16 hours a week, the aim is that all 9-month to school-aged children will get free childcare of 30 hours a week. Now, this is in England only, but it's what's called Barnetted. It's called the Barnett formula, which means the other UK nations, Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland, will get similar funding so they can choose to do the same. In actual practical terms, it starts in 2025, but it's going to be phased in earlier. Remember now that in England, 3 and 4-year-olds already get 30 hours of free childcare. So, from April 2024, 2-year-olds will be entitled to 15 hours of free childcare. From September 2024, all under 3s will be entitled to 15 hours of free childcare. And from September 2025, all 9-month-old to school-aged children will be entitled to the full 30 hours. The next big change is that the universal credit cap, the maximum amount you can get for childcare help under universal credit, is to be substantially increased For one child, it's going up from £646 a month to £951 a month. For two children, it's going up from around £1,100 a month to £1,629 a month. And also for new applicants, it will now be paid up front. In practical terms, that means you'll continue to get it as you do now. You'll apply and you'll be paid each month for the amount of your childcare costs. But for the first month, there'll be a special fund that gives you the first month's money up front, because many people don't have the capital to pay once they go back into work, and that will help people afford to go under that system. The one big miss on this is this does not apply to legacy benefits. In other words, those who get tax credits for childcare, you will not see the equivalent uplift. And once the numbers come out, my suspicion is many who have higher childcare costs and are on tax credits will be better off shifting to universal credit. But that is not a simple decision, especially because universal credits are eligible to what's called deductions, which many on tax credits aren't. So while my team and I plan to do some work to give you an idea of whether you're likely to be better off or not, you should always get one-on-one help before making that decision. But I think for many people who pay a lot on childcare and who are eligible, you'll be better off switching to universal credit. Now, pensions. The Chancellor's big rabbit from the hat is getting rid of the lifetime allowance, which frankly only affects wealthier people. This is the maximum you're allowed to put in your pension in your lifetime. It's currently just over £1 million quid, and it's been scrapped. The argument for doing that is that many GPs actually find it doesn't pay them very much to work, because once they start paying the penalties on the money going into their pension, so scrapping it for them is a good thing. But clearly, if you're talking about £1 million in your pension, you're only talking about helping the very, very wealthiest. Also going alongside that, the annual allowance, the maximum anyone can put in their pension each year, up to the amount of income that you earn, is increasing from £40,000 to £60,000 a year. There will still be a tapering for very high earners. Haven't yet got the details on that, but we'll be updating that on Money Saving Expert. I think perhaps the most interesting change to pensions, though, is one he didn't mention, which is the money purchase allowance is going up from £4,000 a year to £10,000 a year. Now, what that means, that's the amount that those people who've already taken some pension money are allowed to put in their pensions. So currently the annual allowance is 40,000 and this is £4,000. So take any money from your pension and suddenly you can only put £4,000 in it. But in future, the annual allowance is 60,000. Take any money from your pension, you'll still be allowed to put 10 grand a year in, which is enough for most people. And of course, he says the changes to pensions is all about helping those people who are thinking about not working, older people in their 50s. I'm 50, that's not old. Older people in their 50s and above who are thinking about not working, actually encouraging them to work. And I think that money purchase allowance would be a big one in there. If you're struggling with pensions, you can get free one-on-one help from the government's Money Helper scheme, and it's worth calling. My final note, Help to Save, which is a brilliant scheme for people on universal credit, can get a 50% bonus on top of everything they save on the maximum they've ever had in, meaning they can withdraw money and still get the bonus, was due to end for new applicants in September. I'm delighted to say that has been extended by 18 months, so it will continue until April 2025. That's my brief, off the top of my head summary, having just watched the budget. We'll put a lot more detail on MoneySavingExpert.com. I'll be doing some interviews, and I've got a special on ITV at 8:30 on Thursday to go through everything once I've had a little bit more time to digest. Hope that helped.